How many? How many? How many? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. What did I get up to?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of How Many, the only podcast that counts on the internet. I am one of your hosts, Jesse Jackson. We have a full forum today. Everyone's here. We have Gary, we have Junior, we have Scott, and we have Sideshow Bob. This is kind of our wrap up the season podcast for the Cowboys. I have a few questions, but I thought we'd go around the table first. Let's always start with Mr. Cowboy, Gary Grant.
Kellen Moore got his 3-year extension. Clock is ticking on Mike McCarthy's era in Dallas.
Interesting.
All right. He is not secure.
I mean, for another year or two, yeah, they're not going to eat 4 years of that contract. But before that third year of Kellen's is up, McCarthy is probably going to wear out his welcome, and Jerry will move on and get Tom Landry too put into place.
You think so? Okay.
So you're thinking this is a Garrett Wade situation where Garrett was the coach in waiting until they got sick of Wade, and Moore is the coach in waiting.
Yeah, except that it's a little different because Garrett had the previous relationship, so there was a long thing there with Jerry from when he was a player. Kellen has gone from player to quarterback coach to offensive coordinator. And so he hasn't been here nearly as long because that was all in the span of about 3 or 4 years. But I think the Jones family really likes him. I read the other day that around the Star, a lot of the people that work there call him Tom Landry too. So,
wow. Would you sign the extension, or would you have gone to Boise State?
I think it really boils down to what kind of life you want. If you want a quiet life in a small town, then you go take the Boise gig. But if you have dreams of putting a Super Bowl ring on your finger or lifting that trophy, you stay here and you don't even think about going anywhere else, because where he's at and with the offensive talent that's on this team, he will have his pick of head coach job within 2 years. And I think that Jerry's going to look at what happened with Sean Payton. He's going to say not again, and he will let McCarthy go, and he will elevate Moore to head coach.
Scott, how about you? Thoughts?
And I'm not that in depth. I don't think that far ahead.
Gary's already looking at the 2023 draft just to get prep.
I mean, I just look at McCarthy and I just think, I don't think there's enough to evaluate him yet. The season was screwed up. I know other teams got their S together. My question would be, how many of those teams have a brand new coach and put together success? I think it's going to be status quo at least for a couple of years. I hate the revolving door. You know, I make the parallel between us and University of Texas. It's like, why can't they light on a freaking coach?
I don't follow football enough. When I saw that they fired their head coach, I looked at the record. I went, wow, okay. I had an HR director. She was an OU grad, and she's like, we don't hire you to have winning seasons. We hire you to beat Texas and to have national championships. And, so.
Yeah, that works in reverse, definitely.
Yes. While we got you, Junior, go ahead. What's your quick thoughts about the Cowboy game?
Well, as far as the last game goes, I actually thought that they had a good chance to win, even though I guess I was kind of torn. I was wanting them to better their draft position, which I guess they did. I also got suckered into rooting for them midway through against better logic. And that's kind of how it went the last, I'd say, 4 games of the season.
Hey, Bob, what's that called?
What's it called when you want to win and tank?
Wanking. Winning and tanking is wanking.
I think there is enough information to evaluate the coaching this season, and it's not good.
Ooh,
Regardless of how bad of a shake they got in terms of COVID and not having training camp, McCarthy's decision-making to me has been really poor.
Can you walk us through the decision not to challenge the catch before the last New York field goal?
Yes, I mean the catch. It was obviously down in our area, and the way the receiver turned to me and the information we just felt it was too close. We felt it was a kind of a bang type situation. And
Mike, do you feel like game management has been an issue for this team all season?
No, not at all.
Yeah, some of the in-game stuff, that's true, but
that's a big deal. Like,
obviously, which is why, even though I don't dislike him that much, I am an advocate for Moore taking over. I don't care if it's today or 2 years from now. But Garrett lost Romo, and they went 4-12. but they were 3-0 when they lost Romo. That's one guy. We lost Tyron Smith for about 5 weeks, and for that 5 weeks, we were the worst offense in football. Flip side, we've lost 4 offensive tackles, not just the starters, but the backups. We lost our best guard. We lost our starting center. We lost the quarterback. We lost 4 defensive tackles. We lost a defensive end. We've lost a linebacker for part of the season. We've lost corners for parts of the season. And despite all of that, they were flirting with 7-9 and almost had a playoff berth. If that was Garrett, we're 0-16. There's no effing way we win a game. He couldn't pull off one game without Romo.
I'm willing to give him and the team a pass on the personnel challenges that they had. But I am not willing to give him a pass for some of the stupid in-game decisions that he made.
Yeah,
and,
I'm not going to.
And the Giants game was a microcosm of a lot of the stupidity that he has had throughout the season. And I don't know that that's going to get any better next year or the year after. I don't know if we want to put up with 2 years just so we can get to Kellen Moore fixing things.
You've got a line to Jerry and you can get him to switch to Kellen right now. I'll support you.
I thought Babe Laufenberg tweeted an interesting point yesterday. He said he's never understood why you don't hire an ex-official, put him up in the booth, and if he wins you one game, because he goes, yes, absolutely, throw the flag.
I honestly think they have somebody up there that does that. Now, whether McCarthy chose to disregard his advice, I don't know.
He said he didn't get any, but they use coaches. They don't use a separate person.
Yeah.
Yes, he's right. I got no problem with that. They should do something like that.
A few years ago, Norm said, I would have guy who's just in charge of timeouts. Bob, finish us up. Are your quick thoughts, and then I got a couple of questions for us.
Please, God, fix that defense. If they can do that, that'll cure so much of what's wrong with this team.
Does it start with ditching Nolan?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I will be shocked beyond it shocks you if they keep him.
It shocks you. It shocks you.
He's friends with McCarthy, and if
I think he's
McCarthy
like related to McCarthy.
Don't care.
If he's got pull there, he may save him.
I don't care if it's his wife.
I don't think McCarthy has much leverage right now, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think so. Did the 3 wins we have toward the end of the season bring you enough joy to overcompensate that we got a worse draft pick? I'm going to say yes. I don't watch a season to worry about draft picks. I want to see them play well, and I am happy when they win. I get the idea of like, oh no, we want a better draft pick, but I just want that feeling of, all right, way to go. The red bazooka did okay today. By the way, that was our shtick. I kept calling Dalton whatever red.
The red bazooka?
red slingshot. So I say it's worth it to me because I got more joy out of watching those wins than the joy I'm going to get on draft day. Scott, what are your thoughts?
Yes, they gave me greater joy because I don't pay attention to the draft unless it's 1, 2, or 3. To me, that's who matters. I thought it was really funny today, listening to the ticket, how talking about the Eagles, like they purposely tanked. But yet that's all I've heard from people for the last few weeks is like the Cowboys should just go ahead and tank the season.
There's a way to do it without being obvious about it. The Eagles were being obvious about it.
My thing is, if you play to lose, you're basically breeding losers.
Yeah. Lose because you're bad, that's fine.
So how about you, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I totally yesterday was really wanting them to win that game because I was hoping they'd make the playoffs. I mean, it's stupid at this point, but once they got to a point where they could get in, I wanted them to go ahead and get in because once you get in, you never know what happens. Obviously, they probably weren't going to go on any sort of massive run or anything, but they could probably win a game or two.
And how cool would it be to see Brady light at the shit out of this defense, right?
Yeah, the Bucs have some issues. Yeah. Brady's not a mobile quarterback, and that's what we really struggle against. Stationary quarterback, maybe Randy Gregory gets to him a couple of times.
Junior, how about you? Joy?
No joy. I would have definitely preferred the draft position. Now, I'm not going to lie. I always get suckered into wanting them to win once the game starts.
Yeah.
I want them to win, but logically, after the game, all I have is remorse on what we gave up draft position-wise. To me, the season was over after the Ravens game. The 3-game win streak, to me, was just an aberration. All the teams were bad teams that were almost as beat up as we were, so I don't really take any stock in that 3-game winning streak. I would have preferred just to lose them all and get a top 5 pick.
Gary, finish us off on this one.
I don't care. I want to win. Outside of the game, like I can logically in my head say, boy, it'd be really nice to have a top 5 pick. The truth is, if you win a couple of games here and there, we were looking at somewhere between picking 4th and 9th. Well, we're 10th. We're down one spot. Now, this is where Scott and I are a little different because I do follow the draft. I know that there are 3 corners that are going to be drafted in the first round. I know none of them are considered top 10 picks. I know they're all considered somewhere between 10 and 20. So that's where you're going to see Caleb Farley. That's where you're going to see Patrick Surtain. And that's where you're going to see J.C. Horn. So in all likelihood, we will get our choice of the guy that we probably should have picked if we had had the 6th pick. It doesn't bother me that they won those games and we dropped a couple of spots. I think it's good that they went out and they played hard. I don't want losers. That's what it boils down to. I want guys that want to win.
I think to me, the top 5 pick is more ammunition to trade down and get more picks. If we have a top 5 pick and there's a team that wants one of those quarterbacks that's highly regarded, we could package that and, get 2 cornerbacks instead of 1. To me, it's more ammunition that I want as opposed to just getting the player in the top 5.
Well, nobody gave a shit what you wanted.
Well,
obviously not.
And that's what I'm saying. When you hear that, you say that, Junior, I hear it, but emotionally, I'm just sitting there with my Diet Coke in front of the TV, and I just want that high that, yes, they won. All right, what scares you about next season? And once again, I'll start. What my worry is that the powers that be are going to go, well, Gregory's going to get a full season. Dak is going to be back. This will be 2 seasons under this coach. They'll be healthy, blah, 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 blah. So we just need minor tinkering, and there isn't that much need to fix it. That may be true, but I don't want them thinking that way. I want them thinking we were under 500. Everything should be looked at. The old cliche, every position is up competitive at camp. I want them going, we've effed up and we need to get better stat. Gary, your thoughts and what scares you about 2021?
I don't disagree with anything you just said. The only thing that I think makes me feel better about that situation is that the place that it needs it the most, which is on the defense, those changes are inevitable because there's no choice. Half your secondary is a free agent. You're going to have Diggs at corner, and you're going to probably have Wilson at one of the safeties. The other corner spot, the slot corner spot, the safety spot, and all of the backup spots, there's really nobody in any of them right now. So there will be turnover there. They will have a chance to upgrade talent through free agency, through the draft, whatever. Linebacker, I'm afraid that's going to stay the same. That makes me nervous. But defensive tackle, both of the young defensive tackles look good this year, but they got injured. But they know that they don't have a true 1 technique. So we're going to see them go get a big guy that's run stuffer in the middle. I really think Nolan's going to be gone. I hope the new guy is George Edwards, by the way. I believe that the defense has a chance to take a big step forward next year. On the offense, you're getting La'el Collins back. You're getting Zach Martin back. You get Tyler Biotish back. You're hoping that Smith is coming back as well. The wide receivers are fantastic. You don't have to do anything there. Tight end spot, even with a backup tight end, was fantastic. And then obviously Dak is a massive upgrade over anything on the roster, including Andy Dalton. And I think Zeke showed us in the last couple of weeks that he can still run hard. And then you get the continuity with more running the offense. Honestly, my biggest fear is that they don't fix the defense. But I think because of free agency, because so many guys are without contracts, they don't have much of a choice.
I like that. Bob, how about you? Fear?
It's definitely the defense. And I think specifically, if you look at last offseason, they made some moves in free agency, which really seemed on paper to be very solid, signing McCoy and Poe and Everson Griffin, and none of it worked out. Now, McCoy obviously was an injury. It was not any fault of theirs, but nobody would have predicted that Poe and Griffin would have absolutely sucked.
Don't forget Worley, too.
Yeah, it's a gamble. It's a dice roll. You don't know, especially with guys that have been around for a little while, when are they going to fall off that cliff?
And he brings up a good point about free agency. When was the last time we actually signed a defensive free agent that worked out really well?
I mean, Alden Smith was pretty solid this year.
Yeah, he had a good start.
It's not a lot. Most of our defenders are homegrown because we don't spend money on defense. We spend money on offense. If you're going to spend all your money on the offense side of the ball, then the defensive side of the ball is going to be made up of draft picks. And as they age out of that first contract, you're going to let them move on and you're going to draft other guys to replace them.
And you would think, even if the defense doesn't get any better, just bringing back Dak and the offensive line, that's 3 to 4 wins almost automatically.
Keep the defense off the field too.
If they can make the defense just average, you're talking about 11 wins maybe.
Yeah.
See, that's my fear, Bob, is they're going to buy into that our offense is going to be so good, we don't need to worry about defense, except for an offensive lineman. I don't care if someone is first round talent talent on the offensive side and they're available on the third or fourth round, I don't care. Don't take them.
That's a really good point, Jesse. I'm not saying they have to use every single pick on defense, but it needs to really be heavily focused on defense, especially that top pick.
Scott, what scares you?
I am in total agreement with everybody else. Is the defense is that I fear that we're going to have an offense back that can move the ball efficiently. But then, I just fear that it's going to be same old guys running up the middle, going 15 yards. Every receiver is open. It's like, okay, here we go again. That's my fear. I don't see how they can fix all of it.
But in business, they talk about don't let the pursuit of perfect stop you from good. Don't let perfect get in the way of good. If they can pick, and Will McClain's done a good job, we think these are going to be players. These are going to be solid players, and it just helps a little bit. Then you can get a little optimistic about all the other things we got going on.
Yeah, and the thing about the offense, as great as it can be, there's still room for improvement. I mean, the receiving core is one of the best in the league, yet Lamb and Gallup are among league leaders in drops. And that one yesterday was a backbreaker. If those guys can quit dropping the ball, they're going to be borderline unstoppable.
Junior?
Obviously, defense is a big concern. I do have a couple of other concerns, too. First off, McCarthy, his decision-making to me has been really poor, and I don't know that that's going to necessarily improve next year. I am concerned, even with an improved defense, an improved offense with Dak coming back, some of his in-game decisions will end up affecting us in a negative way. We may have a better record than we did this year, but it may be the difference between making a playoff spot and not. And then the other thing that I'm really concerned with also, it sounds like everybody's just making it a given that Dak's going to come back and pick up right where he left off. That injury was pretty awful. One of the things that made Dak so good was his ability to not only pass, but also his willingness to run and fight for extra yards and always dive forward for that first down. Are we 100% certain that after an injury like that he's still going to be willing and want to take those kind of chances, knowing what he just faced last year? So those are my biggest concerns.
Just for the record, he's already squatting. Your only concern with a broken bone is what happened with Alex Smith, and that's the infections.
I'm not saying he may have physical rollover. I think maybe his mindset will change to where maybe he doesn't take off and pick up those 8 yards.
I don't think he changed the dang thing. We shouldn't want him running. You shouldn't want a pocket quarterback. You've got 3 great wide receivers. You've got 2 very good tight ends. You've got 2 very good running backs. He doesn't have any business running around unless he absolutely has to.
How much quicker do you think the Dak deal gets done now that they've played most of that season without him?
I want to hear what you guys think, but my hope is both of them will have a different perspective and they compromise. Like last time, they couldn't compromise on time. There wasn't a big discussion of money, and Gary talked a lot about that. It was a lot of time. I hope this time they find it like, okay, we need you. We need your leadership. Let's make this happen. That's what I hope. Scott?
I guess I'm going to have to ask Gary. I mean, does his stock go up at this point?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I think the Cowboys have seen what life is like without him. You look at what happened in Washington. They drafted Dwayne Haskins. He had a couple of good games as a rookie. They thought maybe this is our guy. Now, Ron Rivera's looked at him in the meeting rooms for the last 6 weeks and was like, you know what? This guy doesn't care about football. He's gone. We don't have a young quarterback, but I don't care. He's gone. I think the Cowboys can look at that and say these first-round quarterbacks are crapshoots, and they know what they have in a 26-year-old Dak. I don't see that there's any way that a long-term deal doesn't get done this offseason. I'll be shocked.
I don't think it's a given. I could see them franchising him another year.
Oh, that's what I'm afraid of.
I could see that happening. Now, do I want that to happen? No. I think I want him back with the long-term deal just so he doesn't have that insecurity of, looking over his shoulder, worrying about where he's going to land. I could see management franchising him another year just to make sure he comes back 100%. The story was right at the deadline
that he came in and tried to get the deal done and they just didn't have enough time to finish. But I don't think there's any way. Is there a 1% chance? Maybe. So I mean, it's not unequivocal.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
But I will be on the floor shocked if they don't have a deal this year. And it wouldn't surprise me for them to announce a deal during Super Bowl week, because Jerry loves him some headlines.
Jerry does love doing that. Let's go. What are you optimistic about next year? And what the heck? Let's go out on the limb. Predictions. And we'll start with you, Gary.
Predictions for 2021?
I think there'll be another. They're going to be relapse in COVID, and we won't have a season. No.
So I'm optimistic that the offense is going to be a top 3 offense in terms of points, not yards, although yards is fine too. But I think that the offense being that good will help the defense, because it makes makes the other team one-dimensional, and when you have the football, they don't have the football. I think between those two things, I think that the Cowboys are probably in a 12-win category, something along those lines. Seriously, the NFC East is still imploding. They don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be answering New York. Alex Smith at 37 years old. Who knows if he's even going to play next year? And then of course, you got Philadelphia. And you could say earlier when you talked about them pulling Jalen Hurts out of the game that they were obviously tanking. Jalen Hurts was 7 of 20 for 76 yards when they pulled him out of that game. So he wasn't torching them. He wasn't doing anything to them. They're probably going to roll with him next year as if he's the starter. But he's the same guy that was 7 of 20 yesterday. I think just based on Dak alone, the Cowboys should roll the NFC East.
Yeah, this is all with the assumption of health better than what we had last year.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can't roll out your fourth string offensive line and think that you're going to do much damage against that Washington defensive line. That defensive line is a monster.
Scott, how about you? What are you excited about?
My excitement is just going to be hopefully they can get the band back together. I mean, I would love to see an offense that has its players. I was excited about seeing that this year, and then it crumbled. That's kind of like always what my excitement is, especially in the last 2 years. My prediction, I'm going conservative, and I'm just going to say 9-7.
Yeah, not bad. Bob, how about you?
Yeah, I've been overly optimistic the last few seasons record-wise, so I almost kind of feel like I need to reverse the trend a little bit. But it's hard to imagine, like I said, even if the defense is still bad, just bringing back what they've missed on offense, they're bound to win at least 8 games next year, bare minimum. And the NFC East, 8 or 9 wins will win it. So I'm going to predict 9-7, but they could be better than that. If they make improvements on defense, they could win, 11 games. What I'm most excited about is Dak. I just want Dak back, man.
I will tell you, I've never seen Chris so depressed through that day. He just was like, oh, Junior?
I am not optimistic about anything.
You never are.
We are doomed. I think one of the things that was already touched on, which leaves some optimism, is the fact that the NFC East is going to be terrible again next year. Gary is 100% correct. All of the quarterbacks in the NFC East, aside from Dak, are going to be awful. Like he was saying, Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback. So the fact that we'll get to play as many NFC East teams next year as we are is reason for optimism. Another reason for optimism is I think our AFC opponents, that division outside of Kansas City and maybe the Raiders, is pretty bad.
Well,
so I think we have a good chance at winning some of those games. Well, I'm not sold on them being a good team next year. I don't know that the Raiders are going to be.
I don't even know who their coach is going to be.
Yeah. I don't know that the Raiders are going to be good next year. Outside of the Chiefs, I think we have a good chance. Yeah, the Broncos are going to suck. I think we have a good chance to win some of those games too. So with all that being said, with what I think will be a weak schedule, kind of, even though that changes from year to year, I'm going to go conservative and go 9-7 also. I still think McCarthy is a liability as a coach, and I think he will make more stupid decisions. Fake punting from his own 20, that's going to cost us.
Here's a fake punt. They flip to Wilson, got a long way to go, and he is stopped way short of first down yardage. And that had absolutely no chance.
You know, the thing about McCarthy's decisions is, and Garrett made a lot of decisions we didn't agree with, but there was a logic and consistency to his stupidity. McCarthy is just all over the road.
Yeah, and he may overreact and start going ultra conservative because he's taken so much flack this year.
In all of his years in Green Bay, that's a guy that always around the league lead in fourth down attempts. I don't think that you're going to see a more conservative from McCarthy from that perspective. The one thing that I think you'll see, and I think we saw it this year already, was he pulled the reins back on Bones and was like, knock it off with the fake punts from our 20-yard line. That stuff happened early in the year. It did not happen late in the year. But you're probably right. As a game day coach, he's not great. But obviously, I guess as a week-to-week coach, he must be pretty decent because this was a battered team. And yet there we were yesterday with a shot at the playoffs somehow.
You say he's a good midweek coach and week-to-week, but there seemed to me to be a lot of games where the team didn't look like they were ready to play at the beginning. We dug so many early game holes that it looked like it took them a while to actually fighting back.
I'm not telling you he's Bill Belichick. I'm telling you that he's better than Garrett.
I am optimistic that they are going to get a new defensive coordinator. And if Gary thinks this guy is good, I almost wish they would bring someone from outside. Just someone young, aggressive, whoever is the hotshot defensive person, that would excite me.
I'm out here, Jesse. Wade.
Surprise, I'm here.
No way. We need somebody.
Hey, as a defensive
Fresh.
coordinator, you could do worse than Wade.
We
Oh,
need
Mr. Fix-It.
fresh perspective.
It would be fresh to this group of players. None of them
If
have
Wade
played
was
for
our
Wade.
defensive coordinator, we would have a good defense next year. The guy's old. He needs to have an assistant under him that can take the reins in a year or two. But I truly believe if Wade was the defensive coordinator next year, our defense would be no worse than middle of the pack. And that's good enough with this offense to be a really good football team.
It would be funny if he came back, have the bits.
Wade, can you step in my office for just a minute, please?
Hey, Jerry, how's it going?
Well, it's not going well.
Yeah, well, you want some pralines or peanut brittle? I just made a Stuckey's run. I'm loaded up for training camp.
No, and you shouldn't want any of that crap either. I'd expect these athletes to take you seriously when you're built like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
That's funny, Jerry. Who's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?
I'm with you on the young guy thing, though. I haven't done a lot of looking on that to see who that might be.
All the really good young defensive coordinators are going to be head coaches like the dude in the 49er.
Maybe not. I mean, now here's one for you. You could try to get Anthony Lynn back here. Anthony Lynn's a good defensive coordinator, and he just got hired in San Diego. If he doesn't get another head coaching gig, then he may be available.
Salina's own.
So I am always optimistic, right? Like I always go 12-4. If I'm being pessimistic, I do 10-6. I almost want to pick a losing record.
Expect the worst, hope for the best.
Ken Schaefer's philosophy is if you're a pessimist, if it goes bad, you're like, good, I was right. And if it's not, you're pleasantly surprised. I do think Jerry would be well served jumping on this con call with us and going, hey, how many? You give me some thoughts.
Did you like those 3 Super Bowls?
You didn't.
Won in the last 10 years. You know how many people have won 3 Super Bowls in the last 10 years?
You didn't.
Did you enjoy those?
You know nothing
I
about
hope you
football.
did. I hope you did very much.
If Jerry did want to reach us, there's multiple ways. Junior, tell Jerry how to reach us.
You could reach out to us on our new and improved Twitter feed at How Many Podcasts. That's updated regularly with spamming to every person that ever asked for podcast recommendations on Twitter. But in addition to that, you could reach out to us on the YouTube channel. We have a Facebook page. You can email us, howmanypodcasts@gmail.com. Lots of different ways to get a hold of us.
Gary, how can they reach you?
At travel_cowboy on Twitter.
Bob?
Twitter and Instagram at Lukewarm Tallboy.
Scott?
At Scott_Matula on the Twitter.
I am at Jesse Jackson DFW, and Junior?
Metzgen_Jr. on the Twitter.
We do want to, as we're recording this, it is beginning of 2021. 2020 was a crappy year for a lot of reasons and a lot of things, but on one bright spot, a lot of you found this little podcast and started downloading episodes. And for that, we ask, why the hell? But we are so grateful that you guys have found us, and please let us know what you're thinking. But for now, you guys stay safe, wear a mask, and we'll talk to you soon.
Dallas Cowboys. We are the Cowboys.